Michael Posner and Stephen Peterson published the foundational map of the human attention system in 1990, identifying 3 distinct neural networks: alerting, orienting, and executive control. What cognitive neuroscience has clarified in the decades since is that focus is not a personality trait. It is a trainable circuit. People with strong focus are not willing themselves to concentrate. They have built a set of habits that reliably recruit the executive control network, protect it from interruption, and work with ultradian rhythms rather than against them. Focus is a circuit, not a feeling. The executive attention network, prefrontal cortex plus anterior cingulate, can be strengthened with deliberate practice, just like a muscle. It can also be degraded by multitasking, notifications, and fragmented attention. Every time you switch tasks, you pay a measurable cognitive tax. Protect the circuit and you build laser concentration. Fragment the circuit and focus becomes harder every week. Today, evidence comes from Michael Posner and Stephen Peterson foundational mapping of the attention system in the Annual Review of Neuroscience, Michael Caine and Randall Engel research on prefrontal cortex and executive attention in Psychonomic Bulletin and Review, Jonathan Smallwood and Jonathan Schooler synthesis on mind wandering in the Annual Review of Psychology, and Atsunori Arriga and Alejandro Lera's experimental work on brief mental breaks published in Cognition. Michael Posner and Stephen Peterson established that human attention is not a single faculty but 3 dissociable neural networks. The alerting network, driven by locus coeruleus and norepinephrine, produces vigilance. The orienting network, in parietal cortex, directs attention in space. The executive control network, centered in prefrontal cortex and anterior cingulate, resolves conflict and sustains goal-directed focus. This third network is the one most relevant to deep work. It is also the one most degraded by chronic multitasking and the one most responsive to deliberate training. 4 evidence-based levers of focus quality. First, ultradian rhythms. Nathaniel Kleitman identified 90-minute cycles of peak cognitive capacity alternating with troughs requiring rest. Second, brief strategic breaks. Arriga and Leras showed that 2 short breaks during a 50-minute task prevented vigilance decrement entirely. Third, single tasking. Caine and Engel research demonstrates that working memory capacity is what separates high from low performers, and multitasking directly degrades it. Fourth, mind-wandering management. Smallwood and Schooler show that spontaneous thought consumes roughly half of waking mental life and costs measurable task performance. Atsunori Arriga and Alejandro Leras ran a clean experiment on vigilance decrement, the well-documented decline in attention during sustained tasks. They gave participants a 50-minute attention task. The control group showed the expected steady decline. The experimental group took 2 brief deactivation breaks during the task. Their performance held flat across the entire 50 minutes. The mechanism, briefly disengaging and re-engaging the task goal, appears to reset the executive attention network, preventing the resource depletion that normally degrades focus over time. For measurable dimensions of focus quality in the literature, switching cost between tasks is substantial. Productivity drops sharply with each context switch. Mind-wandering occupies nearly half of waking mental life according to Smallwood and Schooler experience sampling. Working memory capacity, trainable and predictive, is the single strongest cognitive correlate of sustained focus. And brief strategic breaks preserve attention where continuous effort depletes it. The implication is clear: protect blocks, single task, and rest deliberately. The most common focus myth is that multitasking is an efficient modern skill, especially for young people who grew up with multiple screens. The cognitive neuroscience is unambiguous. Humans do not actually multitask. The brain rapidly switches between tasks, and every switch imposes a measurable cost. Caine and Engel's work on working memory and Posner's decades of attention research converge on the same conclusion. Single-tasking outperforms multitasking on nearly every measured outcome, including tasks that feel routine. 3 steps to build a focus habit that actually produces deep work. First, block a 90-minute ultradian window each day for your most cognitively demanding task and protect it as non-negotiable. Second, remove all notification sources from the physical space. Phone in another room, browser tabs closed, single document open. Third, take 2 brief deactivation breaks during the block rather than pushing through continuously. Work with the rhythm, not against it. The block, the protection, and the breaks together produce consistently higher output than any amount of willpower-driven grinding. 5 practical moves to build the focus habit. Block the same 90-minute window every morning. Same time, same place. Put your phone in a drawer or another room during the block. not face down on the desk. Open only the single document you are working on. When you notice mind wandering, gently return to the task. Noticing is the trainable skill. And at the end of each block, write one sentence capturing what you did. It closes the cognitive loop and makes progress visible for the tracking habit. 3 if-then plans that lock the focus habit into your day. When you sit down at your desk in the morning, before opening email, immediately start the 90-minute block. When your phone or notification urge appears during the block, stand up and physically move the phone further away rather than resisting in place. And when you notice mind wandering, take one breath and return to the exact sentence you were on. Noticing without judgment is the entire skill. Focus is a circuit, not a trait. The executive attention network responds to deliberate training and is measurably degraded by multitasking and fragmented attention. 90-minute ultradian blocks match the brain's natural cognitive rhythm. 2 brief breaks during a block preserve vigilance. Single tasking protects working memory. Noticing mind wandering and returning is the trainable skill. Laser concentration is the output of a system. Block time, protected environment, deliberate rhythm, not a personality gift. Subscribe to Habits, backed by science for weekly peer-reviewed research applied to the habits that directly improve how you think, feel, and perform. Before you close this video, block one 90-minute window on tomorrow's calendar for your most cognitively demanding task. Name it, protect it, and put your phone in another room when it starts. One protected block tomorrow does more for your focus than any amount of reading about it today.